Hey now, what is up everybody? My name is Mike Brown, aka ReviewKingMB, and I am here to review and talk about Arrow! Season 5, the mid-season finale actually. This episode is called What We Leave Behind. At the beginning of the episode we see Artemis, or Evelyn. She's with Prometheus talking to him, and she's saying about how she has planned all of this and she wants to watch Oliver die, yada yada. Prometheus, though, wants to save Oliver for himself. Okay, understandable. So Artemis is with Prometheus. What a surprise! I gotta be honest, at first I didn't really have an issue with her. Out of all of the newer characters, I didn't mind her. But the more I watch her and the more that they're now giving her to do, I don't think this actress is very good. And I think I gave her a pass because I first saw her on Supernatural and she was much younger then, and I thought she was maybe a little better then. Now that she's getting older, I'm not so sold on her acting. Thea and Oliver talking, and what's the first thing that Thea says? After that last week of the 4-part Heroes versus Aliens, we just had an alien invasion. And Thea says, let's not talk about the aliens ever again. And Oliver's like, okay. And everybody we don't mention aliens. Now, I get it. You have to set up and you have to establish a lot of things in this episode as far as keeping this season on the right path. It's just kind of funny, right? That Prometheus, for example, had all of this stuff planned out. But, like, when aliens invade, does that throw a monkey wrench into his plans? Did he himself say, holy shit? Well, I certainly wasn't expecting that. And did he have to readjust his plans or his motives? I guess we don't really know because, again, we're going to pretend like last week didn't happen. I had a feeling that was going to happen, and that, too, bothers me about last week is that now it's so nothing. It's like it never happened. These characters, all of these characters on this show who don't have superpowers, they're not metahumans, the fact that there are aliens here, they should be going through what Tony Stark went through in Iron Man 3 when he was having nightmares and anxiety. And, okay, you know what? Let me move on because I actually like this episode. What? Surprise, surprise. Yes, I actually like this episode of Arrow. I know I've been down on this season, but it wasn't until this episode where I stopped and realized, wait a minute. As far as what's going on, as far as the current plot, as far as this villain, Prometheus, this is actually pretty good. And I know I'm being very negative on the new members of the team, and I'm being negative on the writing and whatnot. And sure, all of that is kind of still true. But compared to last season especially, this season is pretty good. I'm trying to get back into the groove. I'm trying to enjoy the show for what it is. Felicity and her boyfriend, she introduces them, and it's so weird because I mentioned about how I don't necessarily like Felicity anymore. Like, I'm kind of done with her. Even the moments where she's being awkward and supposedly funny, but like I'm not laughing or reacting like I used to. And here you see her and she's being awkward, especially when she's talking to Oliver and his new girlfriend Susan. Susan, I like her. I do. She reminds me, she's a reporter, so she reminds me of Vicky Vale. And I've always liked Vicky Vale as far as a love interest for Batman, right? So, sure, Oliver should have been with Laurel, but Laurel's dead, so you kind of go like, alright, at least he's not with Felicity. Although you wonder, what's the need? What's the constant need for these superhero shows to always have their character dating somebody? Even a character like Susan, who we don't know a whole lot about, but we'll just have him dating somebody. Okay, she's not annoying. The character, from what I can tell, is likable. So far, I like her. And Curtis and his husband, there's some weird stuff going on. He catches almost them in a lie when Felicity, when they're talking about their late night project that they're working on, but it sounds fishy. The husband storms off. Curtis goes after him, and then Prometheus shows up, and it was kind of a cool moment with them talking, and then like an arrow slowly went by. It was in slow motion, went by and cut his neck. I actually thought for a second it killed him, and that would have been kind of awesome, right? That like that's how the husband finds out what Curtis has been doing. he sees him, gets his head cut off maybe, or like an arrow through his neck. But he doesn't. Curtis gets into a fist fight with Prometheus. I still can't buy Curtis as an action guy, a fighter guy. I can't. He's too goofy. He's too just weird. He needs to be a tech guy. He gets his ass kicked, but Prometheus does not kill him. And then I thought he was going to kill the husband, but he doesn't. I almost want to say, what was the point of all of this? I mean, what Prometheus said later about everything Oliver touches dies, you would think he would have killed this person. But he doesn't. And this is when they start to piece together who Prometheus might be. And Oliver remembers how 4 years ago, I guess technically during season 1, even though this never happened in season 1, so I guess this happened in between episodes of season 1 that we never saw, which is always funny, right? Like, I kind of wish that we could have tied this into a side plot that happened in season 1, like one of the standalone episode villains, and it would have been cool to do something with them. That's just me, but okay, fine. They had to create a new scenario, and we see that he took down this Claiborne guy, and it was kind of cool to flashback and see season 1 Oliver, him and Just Diggle, the two of them, which is where the show was at its strongest, I think, where it was only a couple of people involved in this, not this whole 5, 6, 7 person team. And seeing Oliver go after the gang, and he's shooting arrows left and right, killing people bad. I never had a problem with Oliver killing people. I had a problem with the show writing Oliver to kill people, and then he'll get mad at the Huntress, or he'll get mad at this person or that person for killing. But then he'll just go out and kill himself. It was contradictory. He was being a hypocrite. But going back to season 1 and seeing just how ruthless he was, I kind of miss that. I kind of miss an Arrow who was just so determined to do what he thought was right and had to do. So they go after this lead, and of course, what does Oliver do? He tells Wild Dog and Artemis to stay there. So what does Wild Dog do? He doesn't listen. Even he says, Oliver knows I don't listen to him. Well, it's like, why is this guy still on the team? Literally, if he's not going to listen to you, if you're going to make some rules, if you're going to give them steps and like this protocol, you have to do what I say, and he doesn't listen, that's when he's gone. I still don't like Wild Dog. But that's where Artemis reveals herself, and she turns on the team, goes with Prometheus, and I would have liked... True, Oliver is not Batman, but I would have liked Oliver. Sometimes I think of him as Batman, and I would have liked for him to maybe have already figured it out, like maybe a moment where he knew it or was onto her or figured it out early. But that's not what we're doing here. So he was surprised, everybody was surprised, and then we get another flashback of season 1 era, and Oliver is talking to season 1 Felicity. Now, this was interesting because I talk about how much I don't really care about Felicity present day. But in this one flashback of Felicity talking to Oliver, going on the computer back when he used to ask her for favors, and she was being quirky, she was being goofy, she was being awkward, she was being funny. I laughed at all of the stuff she was saying and doing in this one flashback. I've never liked Felicity more than in just this one flashback. And it's weird because clearly they wrote this, they shot this now, but maybe it's just they knew the sensibilities of how they wrote the characters from before, or how the characters were in season 1 was so much more likable. Felicity herself was so much more likable back then that I'm sitting here and I'm like, wow, this is like a different character. I miss her. Where is this Felicity? It's true. It's true. So now I know that at least if I go back and watch those first 2 seasons, I'll still like Felicity because I did like her here. Thea was back in costume. Speedy is back, and I like that. I do like seeing Thea back in action. She's going to be a part of the group. Hopefully, I guess she'll fill the void that Artemis now left. And Oliver was able to figure it out. He remembered from the flashback or from the memory of what where Prometheus is. And he goes by himself, which I like. And as he's retracing his steps, he's remembering what he did 4 years ago. And Prometheus is doing the same thing, almost step by step. He's killing everybody the same way Oliver did, with the same number of weapons and the same spots and the same angles. It was creepy because you could tell this guy is obsessed with Oliver, that he's studying him, studying his every moves. And that's when I started to find this guy fascinating. That's when I started to really think of him in a different light. And we see the flashback even of when Oliver killed his father. So this is a guy who has a true vendetta. You understand why he hates this guy. You understand why he's almost gone out and trained to be exactly like Oliver. Prometheus, at some point, tied up the boyfriend and duct taped his mouth and duct taped weapons on his hand. Kind of like what the Joker did to the innocent people. Dressed them up like clowns for the cops to think that they're the bad guys. So I did like that, and the fact that Oliver killed Felicity's boyfriend. I loved that he outsmarted him, that he tricked him and made Oliver feel super guilty about it. When he went back and told the group, they all felt bad, and I didn't know how they were going to react to him. I didn't know if they were all going to get mad and start blaming him like everybody did to Barry last week. But thankfully they didn't do that, and even Felicity didn't blame Oliver, which was shocking because last year's Felicity would have blamed Oliver. Last season's Felicity would have started yelling at him and saying, it's all your fault and all this stuff. And who knows, she might still have a blowout like that at some point. But I like that everybody is gauging their focus on Prometheus. We're going to go after him. So I enjoyed that. The thing ends with Oliver going to talk to Susan. Diggle gets a call from Lila, but then when he gets to the apartment, he is surrounded by cops, so I guess he's now caught. Did she set him up, or did they force her to do that? What's going to happen to Diggle now? That sucks. But the most shocking thing ever, right? I talked about last week in the 100th episode of Arrow how much I loved what they did with Laurel and Oliver, soulmates being back together and all of this stuff. And when Oliver goes back to the Arrow Cave, he sees none other than Laurel Lance. Katie Cassidy, my dreams have been answered. My wish has come true. How is this possible? I almost don't care. When the show comes back in January, they will have an explanation of how she's back, and I'm sure I'll hear it and say bullshit. But at this point, I don't care. I was begging for them to bring her back, for them to find a way to bring her back, and it seems like they listened to me. It seems like my prayers were answered, and thankfully Katie Cassidy, Laurel Lance, Dinah Laurel Lance is back. I was elated. I was happy. I almost wanted to cheer out loud. I never wanted to come back, for the show to come back after a mid-season finale. Probably since season 3, when Ra's al Ghul killed Oliver and dropped him off the ledge of the mountain. That was like a cliffhanger where you're like, holy shit, I can't wait for the next premiere. So this is not as big as that, but pretty damn big. You have to guess that the writers heard the outcry, heard the overwhelming response of how bad we want this character back, and hopefully this time they do her justice, they do her right. I'm pretty happy so far. I've done a 180 on Arrow. I'm back with it. I am, at least for now. Anyways, guys, let me know in the comments below, what did you think of the mid-season finale? Did you like it? Did you love it? Or do you still think this show, this season, is lame? Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later!